Well, today joining us from Alberta, Canada is Gord Matthews. Gord, welcome back. It's been a long time since I've seen you. First of all, congratulations on all of the music that you've been making so long and such a great job with it. I saw in June where Katie Lang was being inducted into the Country Music Hall of Fame in Canada. And then she was bringing back the original band together. And you're going to be part of that. Now, you weren't part of the original band, the Reclines, were you?
Yes, I was.
Oh, I didn't know that.
Yeah, I was there for the entire duration of the Reclines. Like, when my tenure ended, that was the end of the Reclines.
Well, tell me, what is it like as a musician who plays with Katie? What do you think it is that makes her such an iconic artist?
Well, she's kind of changed styles. Like, that's what happened. She made a big shift because she was sort of cowpunk or whatever you want to call it back in the early days. But then, it wasn't really like alternative country didn't exist at that time. It wasn't a genre. And so they didn't really know. She had a big record deal and all the support in the world, and we had lots of fans that were coming to all the shows all over the world, really. But nothing was ever getting on the radio or anything, so she felt she had to make a shift, an artistic shift, which she did, and that kind of brought her into the ingenue, constant craving phase that, I guess in hindsight was a good move, because she actually got some radio play, and kind of worked out. But this is going back to before all of that happened, back when it was kind of a show that was not unlike Hee Haw in some ways,
I remember when she, before Katie was a commercial success, she was a critical success because of that kind of show, because of her take on it. I think Lyle Lovett and Katie Lang were two of the forerunner types of alt country.
Yeah, we used to tour. We did a tour with Lyle Lovett, actually. I got to meet him. And we hung out we did about 7 shows together in the sort of the eastern states. Like, I think we played Chicago and Philadelphia. And, at the time, there was 3, like Dwight Yoakam was just coming out, Lyle Lovett, and Katie Lang. Now, Dwight was more traditional, straight up country, so he kind of went into that. And Lyle kind of struggled in a way, too, of being kind of not really in the pop, the country thing. So, and Katie as well. So they had that kind of in common at that time, and that's why they put us on tour together, I guess.
What are some of the memorable moments that you can recall performing with Katie?
Well, there was a lot, because we toured all over the States and a bit in Europe and went to Japan way back in 85 or something. But, I think some of the big TV shows was kind of exciting. Like, we did Austin City Limits, and we did Saturday Night Live, and we did the Johnny Carson show, I think 5 times. Actually met Johnny Carson, and we did Letterman a couple times when Letterman was really happening. That was exciting. And then, oddly enough, one of the best performances and best sound on TV was the Arsenio Hall show. I don't know if you remember, he had a show for a while.
Yeah, in the 80s.
Yeah, and because we were kind of reminiscing, because I just went to Toronto 2 weeks ago to record the track. Because on the Canadian Country Music Awards, you don't actually play live. The vocals are live, but everything else is canned. So we went to Toronto to record the track that we'll be pretending to play on Saturday.
But you recorded that live, right?
Yes. Yeah, we did it live in the studio, so it is a live track. So it is kind of fair. And but I was kind of looking forward to playing, because it's at Rogers Place, which is the biggest, it's the big hockey arena where the Oilers play, right? And there's going to be a lot of people. And I was pretty jazzed to actually play live there with her singing again, because, one thing I do say once in a while is when I was with her, I didn't really know how good she was. Like, I knew she was good, but I didn't know she was like that good. You know what I mean? Like, it was just because when I started with her, she was pretty good, but she really, evolved, and it just kind of was. I don't know. Maybe I wasn't paying attention. I don't know, but I never. When I look back, even to some of the very, very early shows, because I have some live recordings, and I'm just knocked out about how like powerful and like she back phrased till last week, and just, you know, she was amazing and still is, you know.
What do you think? I think a band has a lot of influence on an artist. I know there are many artists that could not have made it without their bands, and then later they're able to step out of the band and they change. This happens.
Yeah.
I can think of Billy Joel as one particular artist where that's happened.
Yeah.
But the Reclines really kind of set Katie and gave her some freedom to learn. Do you feel that way?
Well, you know, it was, I'm not exactly sure, because she had such an influence. Like, I mean, I was just a blues rock kind of guitar player kicking around Edmonton that a friend of mine knew the guy who was managing Katie, and they needed a fill-in for a showcase, and I did it. And it was she was kind of blues-based, because she was singing mostly Patsy Cline back then. And I had never heard of Patsy Cline, you know, all of a sudden. And that was kind of where it started. She used to do a lot of that old kind of country blues stuff, which I really relate to, even to this day. And so I think, you know, we tried to, but then as the live show did evolve, like we all kind of had our own personalities that she welcomed. And it became, you know, a show that had its, you know, ups and downs. And, you know, I think, like, she was the one, like, she was I don't know if you've ever seen some of her early shows, but she used to do some crazy stuff. You know, we used to play the sidetrack here in Edmonton, and one time she got a great big long microphone and she sang Johnny Get Angry from the women's washroom. Like, she was all the way out in the bathroom. And the crowd it was crazy. The live shows with, you know, in that era were really legendary, and it was really cool to be part of that. And I had my own, you know, I had a few little moves that people knew me for and stuff. It was, you know, but I think I probably learned a lot more from her than, you know, than she learned from me, musically, for sure. So,
what do you think it means to musicians in Canada to see Katie being inducted into the Country Music Hall of Fame?
Well, I think it recognizes, like, there isn't a singer in Canada since she, you know, came on the scene that wasn't always in awe of Katie's, you know, singing, like, somewhat back in the old days. But I mean, when she came on and, you know, did the Hallelujah thing at the Olympics and stuff, like, everybody, their jaw dropped, as did mine. You know, even back in the day when we're doing the cowpunk stuff, I mean, she really delivered like no singers. I mean, you know, I know I was reading, somebody else had mentioned that they had caught this show. I remember the show we did in Ventura, California, maybe, in some theater, and or somewhere around LA somewhere. And Liza Minnelli was there at the show, and she was in the wings with her finger in her ear, trying to see if she could match what Katie was singing. You know, like, she's trying to see if she could keep up with her. And I know she probably couldn't, but I mean, no offense, but it was just, you know, singers knew how good she was, and all the singers in Canada and all that. So I'm sure they're all really, I mean, there's quite a buzz going on around town right now about this whole thing. I mean, most of the tickets are gone, and it's a big place.
This will be recorded for video, so people in Roatan will be able to check it out after it's done, I'm sure.
It's being broadcast. I mean, our portion of the show, it's the Country Music Awards, right? It's the Canadian Country Music Awards. And so she's being inducted, and we're performing one song. So, you know, it's a lot of ado about one song, but it's kind of exciting. But yeah, it's going to be broadcast in Canada, and I'm sure if they get the hockey games down at Sundowners or wherever, I'm sure they could watch it live on TV down there, I'm pretty sure.
That's great. Now, let's talk about you. How did you start in music, and where did you build up your chops, and what did you think you were going to be doing, and did you end up following that path, or did you end up doing something completely different?
Well, there was something about, you know, a couple circumstances. My mom played a bit of guitar, and then my cousin showed me how to play Wild Thing when I was in grade 5. And I went home and played it on my mom's guitar, and I was kind of excited about that. And then there's a little store, a family-run business in Edmonton called Giovanni's Music. They went door to door looking for, does anybody want to play guitar, or is accordion? And my parents were kind of together at the time, and they put me in a few lessons, like I had maybe 5 or 6, and I just kind of kept going. I liked it. Was kind of something I could do on my own, and I picked it up. I don't have much natural talent, but I get stuff eventually, and I've just kind of stuck with it, and it's always been a great friend, and has brought me some, like this event that's coming this weekend. This is a big deal that I've got. The CCMAs have been so gracious. They gave me 7 tickets. I got my whole family and spouses and everybody in. And a lot of my relatives are coming because, my kids knew that I'd gone through the time with Kathy. Because, I played with her, and then I played with Ian Tyson later, who wasn't as big of a deal, but kind of musically kind of a big deal. But they were all quite young, so this is the first time they'll actually see me playing. I don't know when I'm going to get to play Rogers Place again. Probably never. So everybody wants to see it. And it's pretty exciting for everybody here.
I think it's great when you do what you do and your kids really don't know what you do. And it's important in a certain segment because you're an entertainer, and you're making people happy, and you're traveling, you're having all these experiences that I know you'd like to be able to share with people, because that's good. That's the positive way. The other way is throwing hotel TVs out the window onto chauffeured limousines below, and I don't think you're that kind of guy, but I do know some that have.
Yeah.
But then your kids later go, wow, you did that? Really? You talked to them? You played with them? You were on stage with them? You had that many people watching you?
Yeah. Well, there's a bit of a renaissance going on right now. Like the kids were just... Because I did play in the Grammys one year. I think it was 1990. And so we got, Karen was pregnant with our first child. She was about 8 months pregnant, but we got to go to the Grammys and the Grammys after party with all, we got pictures with like Joni Mitchell and Bonnie Raitt and Patrick Swayze and just all these, and so the kids are looking at these pictures and they don't really know who some of these people are, But, my kids are all close to 30 now, so they're kind of getting it. But that's pretty exciting around here for this week to kind of bring it back and look back at, how kind of crazy it was, because we were really touring hard.
Yeah.
And, just kind of going everywhere. Actually, one of the craziest things I ever did was, and this is no kidding, I can have some reputable people that'll back me up on this, but we were over in Scotland, and in the hotel, in one night, I don't remember which town it was, but go back to the hotel and having a couple beers, and at one end of the hotel, in one corner, was NWA. They were on their first tour, and they were shooting craps. And I was kind of bored with my friends, so I went over there and said, hey, what are you guys doing? And they taught me how to play craps, and I won $100. And they were sure that I got my money. It was like, when I think about it, back at it now, I'm like, that was crazy. Not crazy in a crazy way, but what a story. They gave me their tape, and I put it on the next day, and I'm like, holy shit. And then, this is no kidding, in the lounge at the same night was Carlos Santana, before he had his big comeback. And it was a kind of a surreal night, when I look back now. I'm like, wow, I don't get that.
Well, it's a tough life. I think if you decide to go into entertainment,
oh yeah,
you may never make it, and you may have those moments where you're able to be at the top of the top. But that's going to be maybe, if you're lucky, 2-3 years. If you're really lucky, a lifetime. Even if you're a legacy type artist, it comes and goes. Yeah. And you never know what's going to happen. And so, as good as Santana is, and he is amazing, as technically a proficient player as, without having those big radio hits, which he didn't. Outside of Evil Ways, which was his first hit in the 1970s, there's really nothing until Supernatural hits, and it takes off.
And he's out there
that
playing that song all the time, and just
I
he
think
never
it's
wrote
one of
it
the
either. You know,
I think it's one of the most played songs of all time. If you go and look at what the Billboard charts track, and it was written by Rob Thomas, the one that
That's
really
right.
made it.
Yeah.
You know, and I think, you know, Rob Thomas is like, they call me and ask me, hey, would you like to write a song and have Santana play it with you?
Yeah.
And he's like, well, yeah, sure, why not? You know,
Yeah.
and of course the record label at the time, the head of the label knew that this was the last chance for Carlos.
Yeah.
And he put this together and persuaded him. He's like, look, you know, you've never had a killer vocalist. You've had good vocalists and you've had good songs, but we need to step this up. And I think that album pretty much at the time changed how music has been done, because now they bring in crews of talented writers.
Yeah.
They don't leave anything to chance if you're an up and coming musician. If you don't have the John Mayer type chops, you know, if you're not super stellar, they can work with you if you're good looking, are willing to put the time in, and are willing to give up most of the money for a long time, because the record label takes the dough. But you got to be part of this when it was a lot freer.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. But it was, you know, I'm happy that things worked out for him. But yeah, you get to see that stuff when you travel around sometimes. And that's, you know, I mean, so it's, you know, so this is pretty exciting. I'll see it. I mean, I don't even know who the big stars are in Canada right now. I think I recognize two of the names on the show.
I really am happy for you. I know that it's exciting. Congratulations on being able to take part. I'm glad your family can do that. We'll look forward to seeing you back here on Roatan in the not too distant future, okay?
February.
Gord, thanks for joining us.
All right, Keith.